what is up, guys? Welcome back to the BSGL. Today we are wrapping up the off-season. The Summer League is over. I thought about recording some of the Summer League, but so many teams had guys that really shouldn't have been playing. Like, for instance, the Bison had Lester Bates playing. He's at 85 overall. He's got no reason to be playing in the Summer League, and a lot of the teams had guys like him playing really high overall guys. So then a lot of the rookies really didn't get much playing time in the Summer League. So there's really no point in showing it. But the Goblins did win the Summer League title, if anybody has any interest. But see, even with the Bulldogs team, they're playing their starting center, they're playing their starting power forward. It's just, it wasn't really worth, there were 6 mans in there, it just really wasn't worth showing. But yeah, there's the stats from the final game. Trent Beretta had 28 in the final game because nobody can guard him. Mike Baldwin put up 15, 14 for Danger, 12 for Queen and Anderson, 12 for the rookie 3rd overall pick Rod Toby, and then 11 for Flowers, Willis, and Hendricks. And Cam Willis actually looking to have himself a solid season here after being drafted 11th last year by the Goblins. His All-Star City selection, it's going to be in Anaheim, in case anybody cared. Top high school and college prospects in a matchup, yeah, it doesn't really matter because none of those guys are who we think that they are. As in training camps, we already did all that, and we're good to advance the next season. I've got a little bit of free agency stuff to go over as well, but I'll do that after we do ahead and advance to the season. As now we'll go over who each team picked up in free agency, or at least just some of the big namings. I'm not going to go over every single guy that got signed, but just a few that I thought were worth the mentioning. As the Hustlers had a pretty nice offseason for themselves. They signed Rex Reddish here, the backup shooting guard who played in Atlanta the past 2 seasons, averaging 9.2 and 8.9, so 9.1 points per game. Pretty good score. Scores at scores at a pretty high clip. Good free throw shooter, good all-around player. And then they also picked up Seth Towns, who spent the last 2 seasons in Indiana, averaging 10 points a game. So definitely some nice backups there for the Hustlers. And what I did is I basically said if somebody's not over 75 overall, then it's pretty much not worth mentioning. But moving on to the Knights, they signed Big Herbert Robinson here, who's played for 3 teams. Well, he'll be the 3rd team he's played for now. But he's on his way up. Averaged 6.8 points per game last year, just 2.7 rebounds, but maybe somebody to watch out for because he's never really played big minutes or anything like that. And I mean, if he's there in their starting center role, I could see him doing all right this year. So then on to the Legends. They signed this dude, Vit Krejci, or whatever his name is, who nobody really seems to want. He's played for 3 teams already. This will be his 4th team in 3 seasons. But they also signed Ian McCoy, who spent the last 2 seasons in Orlando, was obviously on that finals team. He was averaging some decent numbers as well. He might, play a bigger role here in the Legends organization. He played a lot of power forward for the Apollos. Maybe wanted to get out of that role. Who knows? But he's now with the Legends. As the Flamingos did re-sign Kanye Jordan, he was the highest overall free agent. They re-signed him to that 3-year, $32.39 million deal. Obviously want him back. And then in a surprising move, they got Sammy Richards from the Skyliners. He's averaging 12.4 on his career and 13.5 last year. I thought for sure he'd stay with the Skyliners, but as you can see, very, very efficient scorer. And after that Eastern Conference Finals run, he said he was out and he's headed to South Beach. As moving on to the Predators, they signed Zelimir Vukoja, the center that the Apollos drafted in the 2nd round, and they let go. They let go of him, and he got signed here by the Predators, which is a pretty big signing for them. As once again this year, I think 2 of the guys that got drafted in the 2nd round got picked up, and everybody else got let go. I don't know why they always do that. Just every team let go of somebody. A lot of them got picked up, and we'll go over some of them, but that was a lot of it. As the Pioneers actually picked up Kevin Hart. Oh, he'll play his first minutes this year, hopefully, but Kevin Hart is on a team. It's a 2-way contract, but he is for real on the team. I mean, if he raises 2 overall or 3 overall, he could potentially be the backup, just with a little development. But Kevin Hart is on a team. You love to see it. Is now moving on to the Townhawks. They actually picked up Quindario Gallagher Jr., who, I mean, yeah, shoots the lights out as well, 44% from three-point range, averaging 17 points a game, well, 16.9, but 17 points a game last year. Very, very good score. Definitely going to help that Town Hawks offense. As then we're headed to the Titans. The Titans actually signed Max Hodges, who was drafted by the Hustlers in round 2 with pick number 10. You can see it up there. But he has gotten picked up by the Titans. He will obviously play for them this upcoming season. He's got a whole lot of potential. He could also potentially be in that backup small power forward role if DeVecchi plays poorly or whatever. As then moving on to the Moose. The Moose picked up Reuben Harper, who was originally drafted by the Flamingos in the second round. He was pick number 11. As he looked pretty decent. He got picked up by the Moose. Once again, I mean, he's got a lot of guys in front of him right now, but maybe he could learn a lot from Cy Gilbert. He's actually even got a younger guy in front of him right now, but whatever. Definitely could be a nice addition, or maybe some trade value in there. So the Apollos decided to sign Jamal Rush, who was taken in the second round, 17th pick, originally by the Wranglers, as I don't know why on God's green earth they signed this dude when they could have just kept Zelimir and then maybe ran one of these guys at the power forward, but, I'm not the head coach. I'm not the GM for a reason, I guess, as the Sharks were the last team to pick up somebody of note. They got Lamond Walker, who was taken pick number 5 in round 2. He was originally drafted by the Goblins. They went ahead and snatched him up. As you can see, most of the free agents are right around that 73, 74 mark. So it looks like a lot of the other ones that I was even thinking of got picked up, or that were here like during the offseason got picked up as well. But that's pretty much it for the offseason. We're ready to go into Season 2. I switched a couple guys' hairstyles, but I'm also going to treat this like an off-season preview. So we're going to break down each team real quick. As you can see, here is the Hustler starting lineup. I'm going to give you like what they should be shooting for, like just realistically, like is this a championship roster? Blah 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 blah. And the Hustlers should definitely be looking to make a little bit of a push. They this year they've been playing right around 500 basketball their whole existence. They were just 13 and 16 last year and barely snuck into the 8th seed. And then the season before that, they were 14 and 15, I do believe. If I can even find it, good God. Season before that, they were 13 and 16 as well. So they've been 13 and 16 in back-to-back years. And I'd say with these additions that they've grabbed, and they have Carlton Blunt, he's looking like he's going to be starting in that power forward role. So they've got some young talent with him and Kendrick. And then they got Towns, and of course Reddish will be playing probably some pretty big minutes off the bench. And they moved Abdul Wahad to a bench role. I'd say that they definitely need to shoot for more than 13 wins, but they got to just get more probably points production out of Duncan. I'd say if he can average 20 a game, that would be a huge, huge help to them. And same with Kendrick. If they could get double digits, maybe raise his assist number as well, that could be like a huge X factor for them. But that's pretty much all I got on the Hustlers. So moving on to the Wolfpack. Wolfpack are about in the same boat as they were 11 and 18 their first year. And you would have thought that their draft pick would have done a little bit more. They took Neil Roy. Where is he at? Yeah, look at this bum. 7th overall last year. And especially with how much talent was in that top 10, taking him 7th overall was a huge bust. He had just 3 points a game. I mean, I'm sure, yeah, only scored 9 points, though, so he just played he scored 30 points. So he scored 30 points total. I mean, that's just bad. He's really not looking like he's going to play much. And then, of course, they take Copeland this year. And I doubt he plays much time in a Wolfpack jersey this season at all. They were just 12 and 17, still have not made the playoffs, and they don't really look too much better this year. Still not a lot of depth. Didn't really have any big free agent signings or anything like that. So I think it'll be another struggle bus season there for the Wolfpack. The Enforcers were 15 and 14 in year one and grabbed big Louis Keller, who had a very strong rookie season, and then won another game the last season and were 16 and 13, 14 and 15, 15 and 14 year one, 16 and 13 in year number 2. And hopefully they can improve upon that yet again, as they've got guys like Stephen Morse who are actually on his way down. As you can see, a huge decline from year 2 to 1. They're going to need him to get back up to like DPOY form if they really want to win some more games and really like make that push to become an elite level team. But they've got a lot of guys on this roster. They're one of the worst rosters overall-wise, and they really don't have a whole lot of young guys besides Keller, as it'll be a lot of how much can the bench keep up. As I'm excited to see what old GG can do here. But, he was taking 22nd, so we don't expect huge things. As they have made some bad trades, too. Like, trading for Majabah really wasn't a great choice, as it's not even looking like he's going to play much minutes yet. So I'm expecting the Enforcers to go down this season, if I had to take a guess. That's just my personal prediction, as the Bulldogs are one of the teams that were way, way better in year 2 than they were year 1. They were a whopping, they were bad year 1. They were they were 14 and 15 year 1, but they were very bad in each category, offensively and defensively. And then this year they went 20 and 9, just one of 5 teams in BSGL history to manage to win 20 games. And it's definitely going to be hard for them to stay at that level of competition, but I definitely think that they can. I don't know if starting Cecil Goodrich, it looks like he's going to start game 1. I don't know if that's the right call. I think they have a lot more faith in him than I do. I'm excited to see if he can do good work, but that's not really what I'd think would be the best call. They've got this nice big man duo in Beretta and Massenberg. They get a lot of boards. They score a lot of points, and of course they got Armstrong up there. I'd say if those 3 can carry most of the load, then they'll be all right. But I don't really have a whole lot of faith in these backups. And Wu Chan just really has not developed the way they really wanted him to. He's really not gotten a whole lot better. Just 3.8 points and 4.1 assists. I don't see him averaging much more than that this year, unless there's an injury and he just is forced into a lot of minutes. But it'll be a major, major game changer to see just how well Cecil Goodrich plays. It's just not even looking like Aaron Lowe is going to play any minutes at all. He was taken with the pick earlier than Cecil Goodrich. It looks like they have a lot more faith in Goodrich than they do. But it'll just be one of those teams where a couple guys could make or break their season, especially like Van Exel, because he's an 82. He better play like an 82. He hasn't been averaging 82 overall numbers, that's for sure. But a lot of that's going to be on old Cecil Goodrich. So I don't know that a rookie of his caliber has enough talent to have that weight on his shoulders. So now moving on to the Hilltoppers. The Hilltoppers were a very tough team to beat in year number 1. Year number 2, they were just 12 and 17. So obviously not good enough to get them into the playoffs. But in year number 1, they were actually 18 and 11, a very, very good record of 18 and 11. As Puff declined a little bit year 1 to year 2. As hopefully he can start playing well again. As Tajir Shang is a big story. He has not been very good. Or he's been getting better, is what I meant to say, throughout his entire career. So maybe he can put up some big minutes. And obviously, they just got a lot of guys starting that we haven't really heard a whole lot about. Kind of been flying under the radar, like Vin Bowen. David Wright, they traded for. I think that was a bad trade. They got rid of Leto. And then Stan Sullivan, another one that these guys just don't. I just don't know how these guys were ever an 18-win team. Holland Korn was very about to say he's declined as well, but he's been very good. As I don't know why he's not in the starting role. And then same with Young. I'd be giving Young a lot of minutes. They struggled to score last year, and he's definitely going to be their scoring option off the bench. So I'd be giving him a lot more minutes, but they're another team that I just don't see making the playoffs next year. They'll probably be a lottery team in the upcoming season. I hope I'm wrong. As then now for the Royals. The Royals have been the best team record-wise through the first 2 seasons, like combined record. They were a whopping 21 and 8. The best record in BSGL history throughout the first 2 seasons, at least. In their first season, 21 and 8 was, that was incredible. And then last season they were 19 and 10, which is still very, very good. As Tyus Rogers, Kenny Dimes, Ed Weber, Van Breda, Colf, Rich Mack, that whole starting 5 just absolutely incredible. Rich Mack won the scoring title last year, and then Van Breda, Colf, just a very good role player. But then Weber, absolute knockdown from 3. I know it just says 39%, but he takes a ton per game. Where is that at? Yeah, he almost took 200 threes in 30 games last year. That's just insane. Kenny Dimes the same way, obviously a big facilitator on this team. 22 and 10. That's crazy, crazy numbers. And then Rogers is an absolute bucket, just a scoring machine. They've got points production all over the place. And then on the bench, Tim Tebow's come along a lot better than what I thought. I think it's helping that he's playing on a winning team like that. And then some of these other guys on the bench, like Raven. Raven's always puts up decent numbers for how many minutes he gets. 6.6 points in 21 minutes. And then J.P. Evans, who they traded for from Arizona, almost put up 10 points a game last year off the bench. So it'll definitely be the bench that makes or breaks this team, but that starting lineup is very, very tough. And the bench may have a really big lead to work with every single time they get into the game if that starting lineup can be as good as they have been in past years. Moving on to the Knights, they were not a playoff team in year one. They went 14-15 and actually came up with the 3rd overall pick and used that pick to grab Beefy Beefcakes, who looks like he's coming along nicely. As he's going to play a big role here in year number 2. He's definitely going to average more than 7.6 points. They got to get some more production out of him. Heinsohn's been doing crazy. As Epiphany Baxter is a guy we really don't hear a lot about either. He definitely needs to do better at just 13 points, but for an 83 and a guy that of his scoring caliber, he's 6'8", but he looks even bigger than that. And he's just long. Same with Bohannon. Bohannon's just got to average maybe a little. I mean, yeah, if we could get back to the 18 he had in year one, that would be preferred. I'm sure for the Knights they want scoring out of him. And Zigaranovich has honestly, I mean, like for the second best overall player on this team has been underperforming with less than 10 points and less than 8 assists. That's just not going to cut it. So everybody on their team just overall needs to play better, and they need a center. I don't know why they took, where is he at? This idiot at what did he get picked at 18th? What a horrible pick. What a bad pick. They did get Raheem Salmons. I forgot to mention that in the free agent part. I guess that's why I didn't, because he's only averaging 1.9 points a game. But a 74 overall nonetheless. So maybe he can play some nice minutes there at the power forward or maybe even the big man role. But Herbert Robinson and Martinez has been doing all right, but Robinson's really going to have to play some big minutes as well. But they'll probably sneak into the 8 seed again or something like that, but everybody on that team just needs to play at a higher level. The Legends have been 10-19 and 11-18 their first 2 years. Just not very good basketball from the Legends, as Tarico Marks really had a breakout year last year, as they need him to continue scoring at that high level. Reggie George did way better year 2 than he did year 1 as well. So if he can keep that up as well, then that would be great. But I'd say the future is bright in Atlanta with Rustin, who they picked number 5, and Simpson. They got 2 players who are entering, obviously one entering his second year, the other entering his first year. And I'd say they both look very, very good. And these 4 could be very, very solid. But Bumgarner is the one I'm worried about. I mean, just look at those field goal percentage numbers from the last year. 32 from the field from a center. And that is awful. That is just awful. As he's simply got to play better. I'd just take the ball out of his hands a lot more. Maybe just let him be a rebounder, get somebody else in there. As Walker Kimbrough could be another one that could maybe play. He could probably play a little bit better too. Just not shooting the ball very well at all. As in McCoy's going to have to come in and play some pretty big minutes down low and help get some rebounds on the bench unit. Because a lot of these guys on the bench, really not very good rebounders. A lot of scoring on that bench. So I see them winning more than 11 games like they did last year, but I don't see them breaking 500. I'd say they'll win about 14 games would be my prediction. As for the Flamingos, I got to think the Flamingos are thinking they're title contenders this year for sure. Stackhouse has been a very, very good point guard. I wish I quit saying but he's been a very, very good point guard these first 2 years, averaging 16 and then 18, just getting better each year in pretty much all numbers except assists, but he was just scoring a little bit more. Doesn't shoot threes, which is a little weird, but he still shoots free throws well. Still not a bad shooter, just not a three-point shooter. As in Greenwald's developed a ton. I'm sure he'll average more than 10.3 points a game this year. Cauley Stein's been decent his whole career. He's very much a defender, averaging that 1.3 points per game. Power forward's really the only place they're hurting. But Achille Antonov, obviously 2-time MVP. I mean, averaging 30 points per game through the first 2 years. Just absolutely killing the competition. 2-time assist champion. He'll obviously be carrying this team. But then their bench, Jordan, Richards, both just absolute scoring threats, and Strawberry's just as good as Nanaji is. Well, obviously a little bit better at 79. As then they got Brett Fielder, who can definitely play some big minutes as well. As their whole 9-man rotation that they got looking right there looks very, very good. I could see them being a 17-plus win team. As then moving on to the Cougars. The Cougars won 14 games year 1 and 15 in year 2. And I'd say that a lot of their season is going to come down to how well Adams can play. Adams way, way better year 2 than year 1. It'll be interesting to see if he can keep that up. Same with Kabar Kappa. He was a little bit better. He needs to keep getting better and better. Snow has been he's been completely overrated. He has a lot of highlights, but his highlights are pretty much the only thing that we see. Obviously, because we just but in the primetime game that they played and everything, he just didn't look very good. Doesn't shoot the ball well. So he will be the X factor for that team and how well they can play. Cambridge has always been somewhat decent. 11 points, you'll definitely take that. Akebono Shang has been solid. Got a little bit worse here too, so he needs to step it back up. But then their bench is pretty good with Honeycutt, Flynn, and Ming. All some scores, but they need some bigs. They need some depth down there at bigs because Carvacho, the only big that they have in the rotation. So I don't know who's going to play power forward for them a lot if it's not one of these three guys, not Cambridge, Shang, or Carvacho. So that'll be interesting. So big man is definitely where they need the most help. I wouldn't say they're going to get it. I see them winning below 14 games for sure. As then the Buzz were incredible year one. They were 18 and 11, I do believe, year one. I'm about to pull it up, but year two, man, it was ugly for the Buzz. 11 and 18, which helped them secure Barker Bogey in the lottery. But still, you do not want to see your team fall off like that, as they were indeed 18 and 11 year one. Stavkovic actually played better in year two than he did year one. Hopefully, he can keep that up for them. As then they traded for O'Hay. I don't see O'Hay being too big of a factor on this team. He just needs to be a rotation type player. Then DeAndre Johnson, obviously gotta keep up those numbers if they want to continue to, or if they want to win. Wagner, same goes for him. I don't know why he averaged such worse numbers year two than year one. The Big Show, definitely got to play better than 7 and 7, which isn't bad for a rookie center, but for the minutes he was given. He's got to be better, and he's got to shoot better from the line. I mean, that's abysmal. They're hacking a shack. But this bench, definitely decent with William Strong, Ricky Ryder, who's been quiet on the bench for them, and, of course, Barker Bogey. And they have Damon Levins, who was picked up in free agency, who actually didn't play last year. But it'll be interesting to see how he plays after the year out. As, I mean, once again, just bench will probably make or break their team. They don't have a whole lot of depth at big man either. I mean, Levins, will be interesting to see how he plays, but Willingham's they're really only decent big on the bench, but they do have a lot of guard depth. So I'd say that the guards and then Johnson obviously are going to have to carry that team. But I don't really know. I don't really have a win prediction for them. It'll just be interesting. As in Sting somehow made it into the playoffs in year one and actually took down. They were 14 and 15 year one, and they actually beat the Buzz in round one. And then they were 12 and 17 this past year. They took Will Mann in their first year, he's been nothing for them. But then Jamal Pope, who they took in the lottery this year at 8th overall in the top 10, actually, he will definitely be a huge factor on this team. He looks like he could have great success here in Sacramento. Him and Villa, who is reigning 6th man of the year, he's got to play well too. The bench unit definitely needs to come in. As long as the starters can hang with other team starters, then I think that the bench unit could do some good work here. With Villa and Pope. That is a very, very good two-punch combo off the bench, along with Clark. Clark's been very good off the bench as well, averaging almost 10. But the problem for the Sting has been this point guard position. I know Roach averaged 13 a game last year, but he didn't play a whole lot of games in the starting position. His minutes were way up and down. They started a lot of guys there. As in Quigley, another one of the guys that is overall is not indicative of how good he is. He has to play better. Williams, another guy that kind of... wouldn't say fell off, but just didn't have as big of an impact as he did scoring-wise. Numbers were down shooting and in points per game. I know it was just 1.5, but it just didn't seem like the minutes he played were as big as what they used to were as big as they were. As in year one, he would look like he could have been a top 5 player in the league. Lions about the same way. Just got to keep elevating his game. Same with Garuba. Garuba's 82 overall and didn't even average 10 points a game last year. And 82 overall is pretty decent for this league. And 32 that's horrible field goal percentage. So once again, bench is going to be the big part of that team. I don't see them winning over 15 games. Like 15 is probably the ceiling for them. The Skyliners were just awful in year one. Not as bad as some, but definitely as bad as others. They were just 10 and 19. In year one, and took Jim Halpert first overall, who did not win Rookie of the Year, but was still very, very good. And then he helped them to this 16 and 13 record here in year two. I would say that they definitely overachieved by making the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't know that they can make it back to the Eastern Conference Finals this year, but it'd be interesting to see them try. Ruben Solomon won 6th man of the year in year one and even got better. And he's definitely looking to make a good start. Jim Halpert's got to elevate. Same with Duhan, who had a really good playoffs, but has not really shown up in the regular season yet. He's got to play better. Dombrowskis was huge in the regular season. I'd say if they can keep getting 15 points per game out of him, that'll be a big help. Maybe a little more rebounds, because 3.4 is not a lot for a guy that's 6'10". John Francis just needs to continue to dominate the way he's been dominating. He looks like one of the best centers in the game. But then this bench unit, Westerman, Davis, McDyess, gotta play better. Westerman was all right. Maybe just looks like he needed to shoot the ball a little bit more. Davis was just didn't shoot threes very well, and he was chucking them up in those playoffs from what I saw. And then McDyess, like 32 points per game. So maybe play Westerman a little bit more, but just not great. And then Sharp. Well, he was sharp from outside, 43% and 44% from the field goal range. I'd give him more minutes if I was them and play a lot out of Sharp, as I didn't realize that they had Nathan Darling playing any minutes, as he's 6'10" on a Marquette. It'll be interesting to see how he does, because obviously he hasn't played very much at all. Wasn't even on a roster last year. But I'd see them going downhill as well, just because they don't really have any new pieces, and they lost Richards to the Flamingos, and he was a pretty big key piece in that run off the bench, so I see them going downhill as well. As for the Sharks, the future is bright in San Diego, if you would ask me. Obviously, they just drafted their new starting point guard, Zane Nesbitt, out of Indiana with the 6th overall pick. He looks very, very good. Definitely a starting caliber player out of the gate. He and Kikanovich definitely need to be the 1-2 punch along with Pope. I would say how well these young players play will be indicative of how well they have, or how much success they have as a team overall. Quentin Pope definitely needs to get over that 20-point per game margin. Maybe get a few more assists. Defensively, he's been very good, but I'd like to see his assist and points per game numbers go up. I'd say if he can put up 20 and maybe like 6, and if these two guys can just be solid, that is a very, very good starting lineup for them, as their bench is very good with Tyler and Narush. Very good guard duo off the bench, then Ellis Jr. and Eastern. But they have a lot of problems. They have the same problem as a lot of these other teams do. They do not have a whole lot of big man depth, as Mitrovic is the only big man on the bench, and he's not too terribly good. Just 2.2 points per game and 33 field goal percentage, just not good. So they got to find another big man. I don't know where they're going to find him, but they got to have another big man play some good minutes, and then the rookies. But I see them winning more games than they have in the past. Because then the Apollos, once again, in my opinion, not a chance they make the finals again. I think that was a total fluke after they were 14 and 15. They looked very, very good in the playoffs. But it'll be interesting to see how Nathan Haynes can play and that starting power forward role, how much points he puts up and stuff like that. Oakley has got to play playoff basketball, every game like a playoff game, because those playoffs he was just insane. And he's got to continue to shoot like he has been. And then Blue's got to continue to average 14 points a game. I just want a lot of these guys to just pretty much stay the same, but they've got to get better defensively. Had a horrible, horrible defense last year during the regular season. Of course, Carson Gaines definitely going to elevate his game even more after that first season. 17 points a game, one Rookie of the Year. Can definitely see him having a big breakout year, and he'll definitely win that starting role over Hart within a couple games. But same as some of these other teams, got to get a little more big man depth. They've got Felder and Peters, but neither one of them really too great. So that's what I'd say is the bench will be the one to make or break that team, along with the play of Nathan Haynes. Is then moving on to the Wranglers. The Wranglers made the playoffs last year, didn't in year one. They have not really done much with their draft picks, and that is why I see them going on the way down. Took Tony Hines in this year's draft. He's not looking like he's very good. And I think they traded away their guy they took in year one. Let me look. Yes, they traded Lonnie Hammonds to the Brigade for some other picks. So I see them going downhill and then maybe coming back in like year 4 or 5. But I don't see them going. I don't see them winning more than 15 games. I don't see them being a playoff team this year. Lamar Outlaw really declined from year 1 to 2. And they just got to get more solid minutes out of some of these guys. Shelton looked absolutely incredible last year. He's been an absolute beast, and I'd say he's really had to play his hardest. Really got to play his heart out to get them into the playoffs, but I wouldn't say it's looking good for them. Cobras, feel the same way about them as I do about San Diego. They've got a very, very bright future now with Miles Waddell, who they took 4th overall, and then, of course, they got Ernie Steele, who they took 28th last year, an absolute steal in the draft for how late he went and how good he was. I see him elevating his game as well this year. And then, of course, Dimboyago Ayo. They've got very, very good big men, very, very deep big man roster here, as they could actually use some guard help off the bench. Not really a whole lot of decent guards. It'll be Dyson and Stone playing a lot of those minutes, which is what you want, but maybe a little bit too much work, because Stone actually got hurt last year. Definitely don't want to see that happen again. But I'd say it'll be the guard play that makes or break this team. I think they have solid enough big men. Obviously, the young guys are going to have to do well. But if Stone and Dyson can both stay healthy and play that 36 and 37 minutes a game that they need to play, or 37 and 37 minutes that they need to play, I think they'll be tough to beat. And I think they can be title contenders. So moving on to the Goblins, they have been in the cellar the first 2 years for sure. Year 1, they were 14 and 15 on a miracle. And then last year, worse than that at 12 and 17. Been very, very mediocre in just about everything. But they need, I could see them making like a 7 or 8 seed. I'd say the ceiling would be about the 6 seed for them. But they need Rod Toby to play really, really well. And Cam Willis in that situation, he was the one they took 11th last year. He's got to play well. Toby's got to play well. And they've got to get some big man help. They don't have any decent big man except for Jameson here. I know they have Whitney. And Whitney's less than 40% for a big man is not what you want to see. Wade Cage has got to learn how to shoot the ball too, because he cannot hit threes. If he could become a threat outside, he could be very, very good. So it'll be a very big development year for the Goblins, and it'll be interesting to see how far they can make it. Shift won the finals last year and then missed the playoffs. And they went 13 and 16. James Long, huge drop-off. 23 points to 16 points, just dropped off in pretty much everything from 9 assists to just 5. From 2 steals to just 1.3, just not been very good. Shot the ball horribly from outside, and his free throw numbers were down. Just everything was down for Long. He's got to get back up to a Finals MVP caliber player if they want to win many games. Coleman's looked all right as well. He's got to continue to average 13. Hamilton, I don't really know much about. He seems like a role player. He was the one they traded from Baltimore. Obviously got to play that role position. Foster. I feel like they need some more, or I know that they need some more points out of Jerry Foster. Your star's got to be at least averaging 20. Somebody on the team's got to be averaging 20. And then Gus Hefflinger, if he could just maybe hit the broadside of a barn every once in a while, that would be good for them, as apparently he was drafted in 1987. But obviously he can grab a bunch of rebounds and maybe get some blocks, but just maybe don't throw up as many bricks there. Gus has then Haley, very good bench player. Whiting Raymond's been super disappointing. He looked very, very good in their first finals run, but other than that, just really crap. He's got to play better. He's simply got to play better. He's got to get maybe not more rebounds, but just got to score more points and score at a higher clip. Even if he doesn't score more points, just score more efficiently. And then Chantel Livingston, the 7'7" giant. Be interesting to see how he plays. I'd say he'll play a pretty big role on this bench. I definitely think he'd get more minutes than that. But they not very deep at guard, so Haley's play is really gonna impact this team. And then obviously these bigs, it'll be interesting to see how they split up the minutes, but how they play is going to affect everything as well. I could see them getting back in the playoffs as well, but once again, not very high. As in the Pandas, dropped off year 1 to year 2. They need more play out of Midas Khan. Once again, he's got to average at least 20 and maybe 10 rebounds. What from him is a doable thing. He could be the power forward version of Achille Antonov if he would he's just got to play better. Simply got to play better. Really needs to get more points per game. If I were him, I'd focus on scoring next year. Maybe not try to do everything himself, but you can definitely share the rock, as they've got some decent guys on the bench. They haven't drafted very well. They took Brevin Bridges this year. He looks all right, but then Joseph Erickson was a really bad pick last year. He still hasn't looked very good at all. Once again, developmental year kind of for the Pandas, just to see how things shake out. For the Titans, once again, I don't know why I keep saying once again, but they're going to be titles contender just like the Royals. They were incredible year 1. They were incredible year 2. Doug White is an absolute dog, averaging those big numbers. Shoots the ball well. Maybe should just stop shooting threes entirely if he's going to shoot them that poorly. But the main thing for them will just be if they can continue to hit the 3 ball as well as they did last year. Because, they got 46. 34 isn't too great, but he didn't play here. DJ Jolly Harper, was he traded here or did he sign here? Because I don't think he signed here, but he's going to be a huge scoring threat for them. Because I think he was actually, oh yeah, he was traded during the draft. Duh. He's going to be a huge piece here. I mean, you gave the best offense in the league another guy that averaged 20 points per game. That is just ridiculous. As then, here's the guys that I was talking about 3-point percentage wise. Manchiguana, 45% 3-point per shooter, 44 for Hardy. Moncrief, 51. All these guys, 13 points, 15 points, 14 points. Green didn't even start last year, 15 points. They're all insane. Even Figueroa, 43% from outside. Their 3-point rating is crazy. They are an insane shooting team. They're definitely going to need Powers to get some boards off this bench because they really don't have a whole lot of guys, a lot of bigs that can play off the bench. So I hope Doug White doesn't get too bogged down with the minutes. But if they can hit the threes as well as they could last year, these guys are going to be unstoppable, and I could easily see them winning the title. They could just keep choking it away in the playoffs. On to the Huskies. They're one of those teams that it's gonna come down to the young guys. If a mediocre can play well, and I think that they could play well. Bradley, once again, got to get back to 20 points per game. Maybe see some more assist production out of him. Maybe a little more defensive numbers. Obviously, 2.5 steals is quite a lot, but he's got to shoot better and maybe get a couple more assists. But then Justice, he's been very, very good for them. Very good second option. I'd say if you can continue to get that 15 plus, they'll be all right. Chubbs Martin was a very, very good pick at 15, averaging 13 points. Very, very solid rookie year. I hope he continues to play that well. As then Jackson has got to improve his game. He averaged 9.6 rebounds last year. Wasn't great, wasn't bad. Definitely a high flyer like defender type. And then Raven. But they've got a lot of guys on this bench that can play ball. A lot of high 70s, which is what you want on your bench. So I could see them making some serious noise in the East. I'd say like ceiling for them would be like the 3 seed. That would be a crazy, maybe like a 16-win, 17-win team. That'd be about where I'd put them. As the Predators have not made the playoffs yet. They definitely are looking to do that here in year one. They've got now the scoring to do it with Walker Kimbrough, who just averages 10, but Douglas also averages 10. They just got him they got him back from Houston. They traded him and then he re-signed with him somehow. But they got Big E to get those rebounds now. And now they have Zelimir Vukoja, who they somehow picked up out of the draft after the Apollos released him. Definitely going to be big-time rebounders. Then they can let guys like Parker and Baji, who got traded from Brooklyn with Big E. He's got to get back to that 12 points per game, assuming they want him to do that. And Dylan White, got to make some strides. But a lot of these guys, if they just play like the best they can play, then they're going to look good. But if they don't, then it'll probably be another bad year for the Predators. The Brigade have a lot of youth at that guard, at that 1 through 3 spot. And a lot of really good defenders at the 4-5s. Just last year, they just couldn't stay healthy. I think this is definitely going to be a big bounce-back year for them. I could see them being a top 3 seed in the West. Lumpkin, very, very good. Not very, very good. That's not what I meant to say. He just needs some more scoring help, more of like a facilitator, even though he's just averaging 3.1 assists per game. Don't really know why he's starting. But then Abdulaziz, who they traded for from Denver, can be a 10-point per game scorer. And then Woodard, same. If he can get to 15, that would be huge. And obviously, they need some help scoring-wise out of Mustafid. And you can't be a starting center averaging 5.6 points per game. I know he gets 2.2 blocks and 11 rebounds, but he's got to shoot better and he's got to score more. Or maybe just same as White and Raymond, just score at a higher clip. Because then, like I said, Maravich, McKenneth, and then, of course, Rowdy Highlander, all going to be huge guys off the bench. Very, very good bench players. And then Lou Yi and Lonnie Hammonds was that youth I was talking about at guard. Lou Yi taken last year, along with Hammonds, both were in the top 20 of last year's draft. They could both have really big year twos, and that's definitely what they're hoping for. But they're same as a lot of these other teams. They got too many guards and not enough bigs. Obviously, Mustafid and Jones can't play all the time, and I wouldn't want to run Rowdy Highlander at the power forward, let alone the center. So they got to get some more height on this team, unless they really just try to play small ball. But that's going to be hard and keep up their defense. But I could still see them being a top 3 seed. Is now onto the Blaze. They've been very good because of B.J. Riley, and I think that this year will be another year that if B.J. Riley can continue to play well, then they'll continue to be a playoff team. But if they want to make that championship push, they're going to need more out of their bench, because their starters have been getting it done, and I really don't see their bench doing that hot this year. And Alabaster, was a good 10 points per game scorer, but he's got to, once again, got to shoot better. A lot of these guys just need to shoot better. Same with Admiral Barros. Really, really horrible numbers for a shooting guard in terms of shooting the ball. So they just got to shoot better. Definitely need to play a little bit better defense and just rely on Riley to take them to wherever they need to go. Bison will probably be just as good as they were last year, or just as good this year as they were last year. They still got Lu Feng. They still got the incredible scorer in Lester Bates, who will probably make even more strides to be a good scorer. And Davis Reitzel's a very good, underrated scoring option. Same with Towers. They're made a rebound getter, and Strawberry, both getting rebounds. I mean, there's a lot of guys that can score. And then Leto was a huge trade acquisition for them. He didn't play much in the regular season for them, but was very, very good in the playoffs. And then Ahern, who just keeps getting better and better as well. They just got a lot of guys that can score, and they're all good defenders. And now they have Zogado, as they'll probably play, Leto at that power forward. They're going to be a very, very big team, 7'3" and 7'2", and then the starters 6'10" and 6'9". They're just going to be a huge team, and they've got a lot of guys who can score buckets in bunches. Then moving on to the Moose, the reigning champs. I mean, a repeat would definitely be on their minds, but I don't know if they have the pieces to do it. Love and Kellogg, both very, very solid bench pieces. Holmes as well. Then after that, it gets a little shaky, and that point guard position still needs filled. I mean, a 75 overall starter is a thing of the past now in the BSGL. Somebody's got better, has got to step in that role. But these two white boys gone crazy, and Banks and Hanlon have got to continue to play the way they've been playing. Banks has been shooting the ball very, very well. Not from three, but he's more of an inside presence. He is a power forward. And maybe grab a few more boards than, or not power forward, he's a small forward, but he is 6'10". As they're also a huge team. Gilbert's just got to continue to play the way he's been playing, maybe even more points per game. I'd just be feeding him the ball. Same with Farmer, maybe a couple more points per game. But it's just really going to come down to how well their bench can play. Because these five guys, I don't know how much I rely on. And they're going to, I mean, especially Mix. He's been so streaky these first 2 years and even in those playoffs and finals. But if they can stay steady, they should be all right. On to the Pioneers. They could get a heck of a lot better. Leo Hammonds is looking like he's going to start for them at that shooting guard role. He'll be very, very interesting to see how he does. But Dandridge, who they traded for from Houston, was a very good pickup, getting those rebounds. Him and Shaw really just need to grab more and more rebounds. And then Spears has got to, once again, got to average 20. But Cade probably be the one to take them, once again, wherever they're going to go. Well, just this bench, just don't believe in it. Do not believe in that bench. The bench and Hammonds will make or break that team. Moving on to the Town Hawks, Dana Green is going to need to continue to put up the numbers he's been putting up. He's got to get back to 10 points. And for a starting point guard, you got to average at least more than 6 assists a game. He's been consistent with that, but he's got to average more than 6 since Summerton. Got to get back up to like that 18 points per game mark. Gallup Galifianakis simply got to shoot the ball just a little bit better. I'd say if he can do 14 at like 40 and 38, that'd be really big for them. Xander Myers had a huge year last year with all those rebounds and shot the ball incredibly well. Once again, if he can just get to 20 points per game, that'd be huge. Valentine, don't really know too much about. After they lost Kellogg, looks like he stepped into that role pretty nice. Once again, I mean, 8, 9, 10 rebounds for a center is about where you want. But then this bench is stacked all of a sudden with the Winters, who just like one of those guys that could make big strides this year. Takashiki, who was started a lot of games for them, averaged 13 points per game last year. And then O'Gallagher Jr., will be a lights-out three-point threat for them off the bench. And now they have good old Brandon Cripps, who they're acting like will not play in Game 1, which I think is crap. I think he'll definitely see some minutes, as this is just the CPU's coach game plan, which doesn't always unfold. And I'd say he's going to play big minutes along with Carlton Harrington, because Harrington averaged 16 points per game last year. Really wouldn't make sense to not play either one of those guys, but it's going to be the young guys. I'd say Gallup, or the new guys at least. Gallup, who's only been here a year, O'Gallagher Jr. and Cripps are definitely going to be the ones to really lead that team. And then lastly, the White Whales still have not made the playoffs. They've been 14 and 15, as they were actually 13 and 16 this year, 14 and 15 last year. Boyd just putting up really big numbers, maybe get to 8 assists a game. He's been putting up huge numbers, though, just shooting lights out as well. He's just got to continue to play at that high clip and hope the guys around him can do better. Del Negro got to shoot the ball better. Jones, once again, I mean, he's been doing all right, but maybe one assist for a starter. I mean, that's just low numbers for everybody. Butterfield Definitely got to get some more rebounds than just 7. I mean, because that is his main, like, he's supposed to be a rebounding type player. He's been shooting well, but just got to get some more boards. As then the 2 guys that I think will really make or break this team are right here. Corey Cousins, who they traded for last year, who was really, really good. Obviously shot the ball really, really well. 2 blocks. Got to get to 10 rebounds maybe, and maybe a few more points per game. But he's just a high-flying center, really, really a highlight reel, get the team going. Then Moses Moon, who they traded, they had the 14th pick, and they traded their pick for Moon, and they gave up some other picks for him. So obviously they wanted him. He did not play like somebody who was wanted. 7.2 points, 6.1 rebounds. Gotta get that higher. Absolutely gotta get Moses maybe some more minutes and some more points, give them some more opportunities. So they traded O'Hay for Bohannon. I'd say if he can continue to put up 11 off the bench, that'll be very, very nice for them. And then Guerrero and Suggs. Suggs has got to play big minutes. He had really, really nice assist numbers in the Summer League. So if he can be that facilitator off the bench, I'd say it'll get them then some wins. Once again, same as a lot of these other teams, though. I'd say that their ceiling maybe will be like 8, 7, 6 seed, maybe 5 seed at the max. But it really just depends on how well they can play. They don't have a lot of depth on this bench, or they do have a lot of depth on this bench. That's what I meant to say. And it'll be interesting to see how Cam Sutton plays after getting taken 12th, or if he plays at all, as they also have Kara Hodzik, who missed last year. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays. This bench has got to really, this bench is deep, is very, very good, and it's got to be the one to probably like hammer other teams' benches while the starters just keep up with other teams' starters. But it'll be interesting for the White Whales, just like it will be for every other team. But that is this offseason and the Season 3 recap, kind of all mashed into one. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see all of you guys in Season 3. Bye-bye.